Hello and welcome to a belated episode of TCAP Recap. This is your host, Hayden, and I am a fucking idiot because I had an entire recording of John Donnelly ready to go, just had to edit it, and I fucking deleted it while I was trying to free up space. So that's on me. I will take responsibility for that one. I'm taking it as a sign of fate itself that it must have been shit and I was getting a favor from the universe getting rid of it for me. So I'm starting fresh, and in honor of Fort Myers, because Florida just got hammered by that hurricane, super shitty situation. So tonight we are checking out one of the more stereotypical Predos in the show, Mr. Donald Morrison of the Fort Myers, Florida Sting. Before I jump in though, quick shout out to all my subscribers. Y'all are fucking awesome. Really appreciated the feedback. Everybody was very reassuring after I said that I deleted my shit. And nobody really mocked me. So that was cool. Thank you. But if you're just watching, just checking it out, I also appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time. And I have heard that liking this video is the cleanest, best pleasure. Take that as you will. So Donald Morrison was 48 years old at the time of this sting. And as you can see, he's got a lot going on image-wise. He's really leaning into the pedophile look by wearing those glasses, the stained shirt, and an overall skeezy look, which I don't know if it's his crazy eyes or his teeth. Either way, you're not too surprised when this guy walks through the door. Although that style of spectacles has come back in a big way. Very trendy nowadays. A few quick facts about Donald. He has a very close relationship with his mother. She still disciplines him. And this is not his first encounter with law enforcement for doing this kind of shit. He is actually on his third time getting caught doing lewd or lascivious acts, or attempting to, with minors. This one he finally faces some justice and gets 9 months in prison, but he did have to register as a sex offender and, in fact, would get caught looking at pictures of children on a computer in the library and rearrested for that in 2012. As he will tell Chris Hanson, his excuse is that he has a compulsion and he just can't help it. Anyway, let's dive into this chat log. It is short, sweet, and to the point. This guy is a very fast mover. It's only a matter of hours before he drives over to meet up. So that's part of the reason why I chose Donald out of all the Fort Myers Predos. I put a lot of work into the chat log on my John Donnelly recording, and it's all gone. So I wanted to get something a little bit shorter. Right off the bat, we got to give the decoy a few points for the awesome screen name, Snakes on a Girl. Obviously, it's an homage to the cinematic masterpiece known as Snakes on a Plane. Donald, on the other hand, has got a bit of a clunker. He's chosen Donnie 1957 underscore male. A real workhorse of a screen name, if you will. All the essential info right up front. They also introduced their real names. The decoy's name is Sarah, and Donald goes with Donnie, which makes sense. You know, Donald, that's the name of a stuffy old man. Donnie is a cool, hip, young dude who's ready to boogie. He is honest about his age, though, which is surprising, but as you'll see, he has a very open, almost childlike demeanor. It's strange, but we'll get there when you see the video. She tells him, cool, I'm 15. So they get that out of the way nice and early. Doesn't slow him down one bit. He is not a man overburdened by anxiety or morals, really. He tells her, you're cute. Wish you were 18. And I'm going to have to try to get his Florida twang just right, which shouldn't be too hard. I was born in Florida. Although I did get to move out when I was 6 or 7, which worked out well because it is way too fucking hot down there. I am a man of the cold. Anyways, the decoy replies, "Oh, don't start with that junk." "Sorry." "That's lame." "Had a girlfriend that was 17 once." So, right off the bat, he is admitting that he's done this before. I think he's also trying to reassure her a little bit, let her know that he's experienced when it comes to being a predo and dating minors. And here we see that speed come into play. He immediately wants to know where in Florida she is, confirming that she's not too far away, that she's within his hunting grounds, so to speak. Although we have seen predos travel 6 to 8 hours to get to their prey. You know, JPW, 6 hours, walking, bussing, jogging, sweating. You've got multiple long distance champions in the Bowling Green Sting. Got Michael Patterson, 6 hours from like 2 states over. And of course, Dustin McFetridge, his drive was about 5.5 hours. But I would give the gold medal in the road trip category to a predo I haven't covered yet, who would be Todd Lewis from the Ocean County Sting. He drove at least 6 hours on a goddamn motorcycle to meet for sex with a minor. Just like Donnie here, it wasn't his first time either, although he didn't have Donnie's luck. He was already on the sex offender registry. So I gotta cover him soon because watching him react to Chris walking in, mwah, chef's kiss. Because he's already a sex offender, so he knows exactly what's gonna go down. But anyway, let's get back to the chat log. Donnie brings up horses because the decoy, after seeing his profile picture, called him a cowboy. So he keeps up the cowboy image for a moment, asking if she has horses, but of course she doesn't. Although he does mention, "I'd go riding with you if you did." But he can't hold that cowboy character too long, and he has to revert back into his pedophile self, asking where the nearest mall is to her home. As we continue, Donnie's going to check off every single pedophile trope and stereotype. Take this mall thing, for example. He uses the location of malls to figure out where she lives, and then when she offers to give him directions to the mall, he says, "Oh no, I already know where that is." Back in 2006, malls were bumpin', and they were hotspots for teenagers, and this creep is using them for geolocation. Think about that. You have a predator, Donnie, who openly admits that he's a predator and it's a compulsion and he can't help it. And he finds his way around the state, around his area, using malls to figure out where he's going. He is a walking pedophile cliche. And on top of all that, if you saw this guy walking around your local mall, you would assume that he was a pedophile or some sort of predo pervert. Fun little fact about me. When I was 16, I worked at the local mall in the Zoomies. And I got the job without even having to interview because I applied, got invited to the group interview, and the manager told me that the theme of the interview was pirates. Now, fortunately for me, the Pirates of the Caribbean premiere, I think it was number 2 or 3, had just been like the month before. And for some reason that I can't remember now, my friends and I decided to go to the midnight premiere dressed as pirates. So I had a full pirate costume already prepared, and I show up to the group interview dressed as a goddamn pirate, and nobody else is dressed as a pirate. Nobody else is even remotely looking piratey except for me. But the manager was so impressed that I actually did it and went hardcore that he hired me on the spot right there. Although it was only like on-call shifts, very typical stuff for a 16-year-old working at the mall. And I barely worked any shifts for the couple months that I worked there. I just bought a bunch of clothes using the discount. The other really cool thing beyond the discount was that I got to work at the Zoomies Couch Tour that summer. which mostly involves standing around awkwardly, picking up trash and shit. But I did get to help change the stage for the band from Autumn to Ashes. I think they're classified as screamo slash pop punk, somewhere in there. And that was the first time I'd ever been on stage in front of hundreds of people. So, yeah, I think I did a good job. I didn't trip, I didn't drop anything. I just tried to look real serious, like I was a stagehand and not just some half grown 16-year-old working for Zoomies. I got a job at the local grocery store soon after that, so I just quit after having worked like 3 shifts and couch tour. But overall, it was a cool experience. I was a Zoomies boy. I was a Zoomies boy. She said, "See you later, boy." I wasn't good enough for her. That was my interpretation of Avril Lavigne's classic piece of music, Skater Boy. I probably shouldn't subject you guys to my singing though. In high school, I was last chair in the choir. We had to take a semester of choir for 2 years in a row, and me and my best friend were in last chair and second to last chair, and we just traded places because we were the worst singers. Alright, enough nostalgia. No more trips down memory lane. Let's get back to business. Donnie, we're coming at you, buddy. Just like he's coming after the decoy. After finding out which mall is nearest to her house, he asks, "Are you allowed out tonight? Want to have a burger later?" I'm not sure if he was thinking of driving the decoy to McDonald's for a burger, or like Lee Greer, he was going to bring McDonald's to her house. The decoy just avoids the problem entirely by saying, "I already had dinner. Thanks for the offer, though. I'm just not hungry." And Donnie persists. "Would meet you 'cause you're nice." The decoy dodges this one as well, because they're having a couple conversations at the same time. She replies to his comment on her good looks, and then he addresses the elephant in the room. "So you don't think I'm weird talking to a 15-year-old? No. Do you think I'm weird? No. Are you alone? Yeah. When will parents be back? Monday. Do you want to meet me? I don't know. What do you want to do? Are you a nice guy or are you a jerk? Just talk. LOL, we're talking now. I mean in person. Why? You have nice legs. I won't do anything to you. So he's very forward. He's diving headfirst into the pool of pedophilia, and he's not stopping for nothing. Donald Morrison doesn't just throw caution to the wind. He throws caution into the Category 5 hurricane wind. The decoy takes this in stride and sets the trap. But like all the other decoys, she's just going to go with the flow. So let's follow Donnie's flow. Oh, okay, bad phrasing on my part. In my defense, Donnie has pretty bad phrasing too. He asks her if she's ever met somebody from the net, and she says no, not yet. So he replies, "I can be your first if you want." A clumsy little double entendre from Donnie. He then asks if she has some DVDs. Any naughty ones? LOL. No, she doesn't have any porn DVDs, so we then get to the real meat of the whole chat, because the decoys get these guys to ask for sex explicitly. Now, I'm sure that's something that they need for court or for the criminal process. I'm not really sure. If you know explicitly why, go ahead and drop it in the comments. But he asks her, "What would you like to do?" I don't know. Whatever, really. What do you want to do? Are you looking for sex? LOL, I'm not scared of it. I want to meet you and fool around. It's just that if we were going to do stuff, I'd like to know what, you know? I won't have intercourse with you, maybe kissing. LOL, like that don't lead to stuff. So we can see it pretty explicitly. He asks Is she looking for sex? He wants to meet and fool around. And the decoy asks, okay, but what explicitly? Because I just want to know. And that's a common excuse we see from the decoys. They say, tell me what we're going to do, sex wise, because I want to be prepared. And it usually works. In this case, it backfires a little bit because Donnie says very awkwardly, I won't have intercourse. So, intercourse is an awkward word to use under the best of circumstances, but when Donnie says it, it just feels like rubbing your hands over papery, dead, rotting stuff. It feels like you're touching the Crypt Keeper's skin. Anyone know what I'm talking about when words have a certain texture to them whenever you speak them or think them? It's like all the accumulated meanings of the word and what they remind you of get mixed up into an unconscious stew. So when you say the word, you get this brief burst of imagery and feeling and memory from your subconscious, and it's not enough to know what you're thinking of specifically, but it just gives this feeling. For example, the word penicillin to me feels very clean, precise, sturdy, and smooth. Because number one, I associate it with clearing up infections, improving health, making you feel better again, cleaning up your body. But then I also associate it with the impact that it had in the medical field, how it was brought about, how it was discovered and then refined, and how it had such a huge impact on human life generally, just improving life for everybody. And sturdy because it's like the workhorse of the medical world. It's the base antibiotic. And so those are the main things that pop into my head whenever I say the word penicillin. And there's just this sensation that you're feeling the texture of it with your brain alone. But this is starting to sound very much like pure stoner talk. So if you can relate to what I just said, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, let's get back to the chat log. Their sex talk is rudely interrupted by Donald's computer booting him off the internet, but getting booted must have spurred him into action because when he gets back, he asks the fatal question, "Are you up to meet tonight, hun?" He also starts calling her hun, which all of the most annoying predos do. They love to call him hun, and it just feels like a poisonous word when they say it. Ugh! It fucking annoys me. But the decoy comes back with a smart answer. She says, "Maybe. I gotta trust you, though. How do I know you're not a serial killer?" And Donnie says, "Well, I have to trust you that you aren't a cop." LOL. Yeah, I'm a girl cop with girl cuffs. So how do I know you're not a serial killer? And Donnie gets booted again. It's like fate is telling him, knock it off, asshole. But at this point, Donald's gone too far. He's committed and he is motivated, so he's going to plow on regardless. He sidesteps her question once again about how she can trust that he's not a serial killer. He says, "You live in an apartment, hun?" "Nah, house." "I can be there around 11 if you want." Here, Donnie is using a time-tested technique of the seasoned Preto. If you think of this chat like a hotel door, the decoy has opened the door and is peeking through, but the chain is still on. With this move, by setting a time for him to be over, he jams his foot in the door, trapping the decoy, because now the decoy has to be explicit and say, "No, I don't want you over at 11, which can be hard for younger people. Once the offer is on the table, it opens up new ways for Donnie to put the pressure on the decoy. Now, whatever excuse the decoy gives to try to politely tell him no, he'll just reply, "Okay, let's do it later tonight. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow. Okay, we'll meet at the mall. Okay, I'll meet you there at your house." And on, always pushing for the decoy to say yes. Unfortunately for Donald, he is dealing with a decoy who, once again, just rolls with it and replies, "Are you going to stay over, or what do you want to do?" I'll stay for a few hours. I won't do anything you don't want, okay? LOL. I don't want you to be mean to me or a jerk or cause me pain, but if you don't be mean or cause me pain, I'm down for whatever. So in his headlong dash to get to this minor, Donnie misses so many red flags. I think the biggest one we've already been noticing, he just doesn't answer her questions. He brushes them aside and just keeps on going. And she never pushes back against that. She never asks the question again to clarify or tries to push him for an answer. She just rolls with it. And that should be suspicious to him because she knows that he's 48 and he knows that she knows that he's 48. So it doesn't really make sense that a 15-year-old girl would just be so casual about him being so dodgy and sketchy. He goes on to ask her about if she has a teddy, which I understand is a piece of lingerie, I guess. I'm not really sure what it is. Just like with the porn, Donnie is left disappointed because the decoy only has a bathrobe. But undeterred, Donnie finally says, "Okay, what's your address? I'll shower and come down." "You're not gonna hurt me, right?" "No, I don't want to go to jail." "I'm not gonna send you to jail. You're sweet. I like you." "Thank you." "And you don't think I look like a geek." "Told you I think you're cute." So on the power of that alone, that Donnie doesn't think she looks like a geek, and he promises that he's not going to hurt her, she's down to meet with this 48-year-old creep. I'm sure everybody is wondering about the shower comment. Did he take a shower? Did he not? Why is he so wet and greasy when he shows up? I'm going to guess that he took a shower, and in Florida, it's so fucking hot and humid all the time that the moisture just sits on you, and he probably didn't dry himself off too much. I doubt he even washed himself that well. No, he just jumped in the water and got wet, and then rolled out, scrubbed himself with a crusty towel to get some of the moisture off, and then he got into his truck and vroom, vroom, drove right on over. Why do I think that he showered? That's a great question. I think that his mommy might have made him shower. If he's going out, she probably said, "Donnie, go take a goddamn shower. You smell like somebody took a shit in an ashtray." I don't know why I gave her that heavy smoker voice or a New York accent, other than to say I'm bad at impressions. Let's just move past it because Donald is about to go hog wild. The decoy says, "I don't know, most guys think I'm not hot. They're like, oh, your breasts are too small, blah, blah." "They are nuts." "I don't know, I hear it all the time." "Would you let me suck them?" LOL, yeah, of course. Here we see Donnie giving his best impression of Maurice Mullen, and I gotta say, it's pretty damn good. Maurice Mullen, of course, being the infamous doctor from California, whose infamous words haunted him for the rest of his life. "I will kiss them." Donnie then asks a question that is a good reminder of just how deplorable and nasty and despicable the thing he's trying to do actually is. He asks, "Well, where can I come?" "Come? I don't want to get preg, so you gotta have a condom." "I have 'em, but I'm going slow." "I just like to know what to be ready for, you know." "If you are ready for sex, I'll give it to you, but I have erectile dysfunction. Won't get real hard." "That's okay." "I want you to be real clean and I'll take care of you." "I will be clean for you." So Donnie asks the impersonal and objectifying question, where can he ejaculate? Not if he should wear a condom, or what she's prepared for, or what she wants to do, what her experience is. No, he just jumps straight to the fucking porn question, the money shot question. When the decoy mentions condoms, he replies with a strange response. What does this mean? He has condoms, but I am going slow? Does he mean that he's going slow in progressing up the sexual ladder with this girl? Like, he just wants to kiss and make out? Or does he mean he goes slow like his little sperms swim real slow because they're fucking defective? Or does he somehow believe that going slower during sex lowers the risk of pregnancy? Not totally sure, but he then gives us this little gem that he has erectile dysfunction, so he won't get real hard. In just this one sentence, Donnie is showing more honesty than most predos will show over the course of the entire chat log. He just throws it out there without any self-consciousness, doesn't seem to care, just wants her to know. I guess if you're already at the point where he is, going after minors consistently and just admitting it up front, erectile dysfunction doesn't seem like such a big deal. It's ironic that he would say something creepy like, I want you to be real clean, when he himself is going to show up splattered in unknown fluids. And just like that, we're almost at the end of the whole chat log. The decoy gives him the address and asks, you know where that is? Or you need to map quest? What time you coming and what kind of car so I know what to look for? And Donnie replies, now, how do I get there from the mall? Because he knows how to get to the mall. He just needs to know how to get to her house from the mall. Just a brief reminder that this guy is so far down the pedophilia rabbit hole that he locates where he is on the ground by which mall he's closest to. As we wrap up, he again calls her hun. The decoy actually offers to let him shower at the house, and he replies, I want to shower here, and you meet me in your robe with bra and panties. This is a funny little request because a lot of predos request this of the decoys. They'll ask the decoy to open the front door nude, or in a towel, or in lingerie. But when they show up and the decoy is dressed normally, they never question it. They never ask them, why aren't you naked? I guess these internet Casanovas aren't as brave in person as they are online. Who would have thought? That about wraps it up. She gives him instructions on how to get to the door because Ocean County, if you remember, has that like carport that's open, so they have to walk through the two arches. Not like Mickey D's, as the decoy likes to note. And for his final message in the chat log, Donnie says, let me go see you then, Sarah. Using her first name that she gave him. Wow, he's trying to impress her and reassure her just a little bit that he's not coming over to do unspeakable things to her and treat her like a sexual object. Alright, that is the end of our chat log. Once again, let's pay attention to how long they were actually chatting. He says his last message at 7:20 p.m. He sends his first message at 6:03 p.m. So that's not even an hour and a half. Less than 90 minutes. This guy is a goddamn maniac. And this is just his chat log. So let's move on to that interrogation with Chris Hanson, because it also gets crazy. Alright, so first off, quick shout out to ShigX1, who posted the video. Thank you, as always. And let's jump right on in.
Hello.
Hey, take a seat. I'll be right there.
I couldn't find the place.
Whoa, okay. Sorry for pausing it right away, but we got to do a quick fit check on Donnie because this outfit is so perfectly suited for what he's doing that it's almost like he's an actor trying to look like a pedophile. That's how on point his outfit is. It's almost like he sensed that he was going to be on TCAP, and so he put on his best pedophile costume, which just happens to be his everyday garb. We do need to discuss his signature titty sweat stains, because that's also a style choice. I guess his truck must not have AC, and he's in Florida. I don't know why he's sweating that much, but he had to have known that those sweat stains were there, and yet he decides to rock the t-shirt anyway. He has got a serious case of predo detachment, because a lot of these predos, they convince themselves that this young girl, this 13, 14, 15-year-old girl, is going to be into them and is going to want to have sex with them. That's the dream that they've created in their minds that they think about constantly until they go through with this. Some are more self-aware than others, but they all have this to a degree. Donnie has it real bad. He's convinced himself that this is going to happen whether he wears a t-shirt soaked in sweat or not. He is burning up a large percentage of his brain activity just convincing himself that no, this is happening and it is legit. This girl does want to meet me for sex, despite looking how I am. Okay, enough of my rambling. Let's get back to it.
Oh, I know. It's so hard to find.
Donald Morrison was one of those characters who
Oh, God.
not
Of course he has cargo shorts on. Of course.
been for the graphic nature of his online conversation with someone he thought was a young teenage girl. It would be comical. What's going on?
I don't know. I just was talking to her and she said, come down.
Okay, not the most exciting reveal. We just have Chris Hanson walking on out, introducing himself like it's a game show. And Donald doesn't even look that surprised. But like I said earlier, if you were a casting director for a movie and you were looking for somebody to play a pedophile, you couldn't create out of thin air a guy more perfect for the role than Donald Morrison. It's like he didn't score great in the genetic lottery, but he's taken every single step possible to make himself look more suspicious. It's wild.
I'm a visitor. I have a compulsion for younger women, just meeting them. I've met about a dozen of them online.
Whoa. Did you ever get in trouble for it?
Well, I got in trouble because I met a girl in Michigan.
He acts like Chris is asking him about chewing his nails or something, shaking his head like, what do you want me to do, man? I can't help it. It's a compulsion. Of course I did it all these other times. I think that even Chris was a little taken aback by his forceful honesty.
And how old was that girl?
70.
And what trouble did you get in there?
Well, her grandfather wanted me to try to charge me with something. They couldn't do anything. So they arrested me for for possessing child pornography because I had nude pictures of her on my computer. They ended up dropping the charges.
God damn it. What a failure of the justice system that this guy had pictures of a 17-year-old girl on his computer, which back then took a lot more effort than it does now, and they still couldn't get him hit with any charges. The grandfather, bless his heart, he trusted the legal system, but, maybe some Godfather-style justice would have been more appropriate. I'm joking, of course. I would never want to condone or incite violence against anybody. It's just that when I use the word justice in this situation, the image that flashes into my mind is the beginning of The Godfather.
And how did you get the naked pictures of the teenage girl?
I met her in Michigan, and I took them.
You took the pictures of the girl. Mm-hmm. Morrison just laid it all out there. Not only does he admit what he is doing that night, he tells me he's got a history.
There we go. Some critical insight from Chris Hanson, everybody. I'm always a little baffled by these TCAP recaps that Chris gives us in between clips. He's just explaining exactly what happened on the screen. Is he assuming that we're all stupid and need him to explain things to us? Maybe he was just trying to pad out the time a little bit. Or my favorite conspiracy theory about TCAP is that Chris was just doing blow all the time and just always wanted to be on camera, talking, explaining things. Now, I don't have any evidence for this other than the fact that he was like a rock star. He was the top of his class at the time, with a lot of money and power, and he probably had autonomy over what he wanted to do to a certain extent, so he could buy a kilo of Colombian fish scale cocaine and just charge it to NBC, claiming it's for a story. Why not? But we'll get back to that topic at a later point. Let's continue.
Of doing this sort of thing. How old was the youngest girl you ever met?
17.
17.
Most of them are like 21, 22.
And tonight, though, you were willing to come meet a 15-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know why.
You don't know why?
Well, I know why.
Well, you treat this like, you forgot to pay for some candy at the grocery store.
I came to met her because she told me that she was bored. And I said, well, do you want me to come down and meet you? And she said, sure, come on down. So I said, okay. That was it. I know it's wrong. I shouldn't have done it. I knew I shouldn't have done it.
You can see his childlike demeanor that the TCAP wiki talks about. It doesn't seem like he understands the scope, the scale, how totally inappropriate his actions are. He really is treating it like some minor gross habit that he does, you know. He can't stop picking his nose in public. No, dude, you're here to meet minors. You're admitting you've done it a bunch of times before. And don't give us that bullshit that most of them are 21, 22. That's total shit. I think the word that he was looking to use to describe himself is a phebophile, a phebophilia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's when adults are attracted to adolescents. You know, pedophile is children who haven't hit puberty. Then a phebophile, which most of the predators are the guys that go after like 12, 13, 14-year-olds. And Donald Morrison, more than most, he fits the profile. At least he stopped chewing on that cookie with his mouth open. That was nasty too. Let's go.
Why'd you do it then?
I don't know. Just because when people sweet talk me, I fall.
In Donald Morrison's mind,
When people sweet talk him. What a way to phrase it. Lordy.
he truly thinks that if, a young teenage girl says it's okay to have sex, it's okay. You say, if you are ready for sex, I'll give it to you, but I have erectile dysfunction. Won't get real hard.
Ooh.
Sure sounds like you were preparing for a sex act.
I was preparing for, because she said that, I said, if you saw what I said, if you want it, I will give it to you, but I'm not going to force anything that you don't want. I'm not going to force myself on you.
That doesn't make it legal, though.
I know it doesn't make it legal.
I want you to be honest with me.
That's the classic Predo excuse. Well, I'm not gonna assault her. If she doesn't want it, we're not gonna do anything. But I think most of these Predos, if not all, once they've already committed that far, they're not gonna let a simple thing like some poor victim saying no stop them from getting what they want. They can deny it all they want, but the fact is, they've already justified their behavior to the point that they're here without seeing anything wrong with it. They're going to find a way to justify doing just about anything to get the sexual gratification that they're after.
If I wasn't here tonight, and a young girl was, who was alone and willing to have sex, what do you think would have happened?
I could say honestly, yes, it probably would have if she would have, said, hey, let's go for it.
And you don't see anything wrong with that?
Yes, I do see things wrong with it, but I had lack of judgment.
Here's this guy who's...
That's such a wild excuse. He, number one, is admitting that, yes, he would have had sex with the decoy. That is a serious admission that you don't hear from a lot of predos. Normally, they're at least self-aware enough of the situation to not admit to something that heinous. But Donnie, he's just like, yeah, if she was down, I'm down. And then he kindly explains why he would do it. It's because he has bad judgment. I always find it hilarious when people just state obvious truths like that's some kind of excuse. Oh, well, I have bad judgment. Yeah, of course you fucking do. We can already see that. Now, what's your excuse beyond that? Why do you have bad judgment? It's just ridiculous. It's like me getting in a DUI and saying, well, I'm an alcoholic, so it's really out of my hands, officer. It's just wild to see somebody sit there so casually, giving out these shitty excuses, admitting to everything. It's just bonkers to see somebody be so cavalier about something so abhorrent and to be so unworried about the consequences. Compare Donnie to Jerry Griffith, who is so nervous that he's barely able to listen and just keeps saying the same things over and over. You know who Donnie reminds me of? Dustin McFetridge, who also seems confident that his Mommy and Daddy will be able to get him out of jail and trouble. The main difference between them being that Donnie got months in jail and Dustin got years in prison. But let's go.
Middle-aged, who's not especially well-dressed, doesn't appear to have a lot of money in his pocket, is living with his parents.
Damn, Chris is calling him out. And also calling out everybody that still lives with their parents at 48. That's not me yet, but with the state of the housing market, who knows? On a more serious note, I do dislike when Chris goes after the Pedos for their material conditions, being poor, not having a car, that kind of thing. Like, Donnie's bank account is not the issue here, Chris. He's a goddamn Pedo. Go after him for that.
Tell your folks about this?
I'm going to tell my folks about it.
You are?
Yes, sir.
How do you think they're going to react?
Oh, I know my mom's going to take my computer and completely throw it away.
You're 48 years old, Donald. Why should you rely on your mommy to do discipline?
Oh, Chris, getting that good mommy in there like a pro. Gotta respect him. Gotta respect Chris Hanson. Goddamn. This is a man who was born with an innate sense of good television and knowing what to say at the right time. We should also take note that as far as consequences go, right now, Donald is thinking of his mommy throwing his computer out. That's the worst consequence that he can think of right now.
Here.
Because of, like I said, lack of judgment, being lonely, having no girlfriend, physical contact with anybody, just just lost it.
Ultimately, Donald Morrison says, okay, I get what's going on here. I'm probably on To Catch a Predator right now. He recognizes me finally.
So hearing Donald give his excuses about being lonely, not having physical contact, number one, I bet his mom gives him plenty of physical contact. Not in a molesty way, but just like hugs and stuff. And number two, I'm going to go ahead and diagnose Donnie with a severe case of mommy's little boy-itis, a condition where his mother didn't hold him accountable or responsible for his actions. She probably just tried to get him out of trouble and reassure him every step of the way. Otherwise, how is she still letting him live in her home after his previous crimes he's committed? Let's keep going.
You said you thought the Dateline stories were pretty bad. Did you think the stories were bad because of what Dateline did, or did you think what the guys caught on Dateline did were bad?
Some of the things that Dateline did.
So wait, let me just get this straight. So when you say you thought that the Dateline stories were pretty bad, are you talking about the stories or the guys who were caught in the stories?
The guys who got caught in the stories, and I know this is probably going to be on Dateline too, so go ahead and put it on.
Well, you know who I am.
Yeah, I know who you are. Once I recognized it. I recognized the voice. I don't really watch Dateline. I mean, I'm usually working 2 to 11.
Suddenly, I'm getting the feeling that maybe Donald isn't as dumb and immature as he seems, because he's seen the show before. He knows who Chris Hanson is. Could have been just an act this whole time. His simple-minded act that lets him squeeze out of trouble. But that would just undermine my whole commentary up to this point, so let's just keep watching.
Wait, I'm Chris Hanson with Dateline
Right,
NBC.
I understand. I know who I recognize from.
He's still just sitting here with this giant sweat stain on his shirt. This smaller one over here, it looks like his right tit sweats a lot more than his left tit, but nobody's addressing it. It's just there in the room with him. He looks like he stinks too. Sometimes you just see somebody, you take one look, and your nose tells you, stay away from that person. Don't bring me near them. You just know that they got stank rolling off them. Like Donnie, BO for sure, bad breath, that's a given. And actually, those smells, while bad, are still bearable. You get into the danger zone when there's a terrible smell coming off them that you can't recognize. Nothing worse than that. Chris, he's risking his life right now. He is squarely in the splash zone for bad breath coming out of Donnie's mouth. The cookies might have blunted the worst of the effects, but still, props to Chris for standing in the line of fire. We got the camera crew coming out now. Unfortunately, Donnie ruined the surprise by recognizing what show he was on before Chris had a chance to play his trap card and show him that he was on national television. But let's see how he handles it anyway.
From The Voice.
And everything you've just said and done has all been recorded.
Okay.
And if you have anything else you'd like to tell us, we'd like to hear it.
Just saying that, I shouldn't have done it. I mean, this is something I normally don't go out and do.
Donald, you're free to walk out that door.
Come on, Donald. You already admitted at the very beginning that you do talk to minors online all the time. Just because they don't invite you over for sex, because you're a creepy pervert freak, doesn't mean that you can claim you don't do this. There's a huge difference between not doing this at all and trying and failing to do this. Don't start getting disingenuous on us now, buddy.
Door. That same door you walked in.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing, kicking me in the pants and setting me straight, Chris. Let's say it'll be the first and it'll be the last time.
He's really trying to connect with Chris here. They're on a first name basis. He's saying that this is just what he needed. A nice kick in the pants to get him off this bad, compulsive habit he has. Just like Bald Beaver Hunter, he treats Chris as more of a therapist than the guy getting him in huge trouble, busting him in a sting. Donald is monumentally misjudging the situation he's in.
I'll give you permission to even monitor me if you want to.
I appreciate that.
I'm willing, if I could find a counselor, I'll go to counseling.
Maybe he should have help. But I think, looking back on it now, there's also a little bit of showmanship going on Donald Morrison's part. He's thinking that if he admits he's got a problem and thanks me for giving him a kick in the pants, as I believe he put it, and that he'll get help, he thinks maybe he can dodge being in some sort of trouble with law enforcement. Of course, that's not going to work out very well for him.
Yeah, Donald isn't smart enough to realize that his goose is already cooked. He still thinks that if he just grovels at the feet of Chris Hanson enough and promises him the moon, maybe he can get off the hook. Yet again. I always love when they offer to let Chris Hanson monitor them. Like, oh, yeah, you can spend money tracking me, keeping an eye on me. I'll go about living my normal life while you go through all the expense of making sure I don't do this again. It's something that Predos offer up because it sounds good in the moment, but it doesn't make any sense if you think about it for more than 5 seconds. NBC doesn't want to follow your ass around. And Chris Hanson has a lot more Predos to bust. He only likes to be here for the money shot, then he ditches and goes on to the next one. He's here to tag him, shag him, and bag him. Once he takes his pleasure from the situation, he forgets about him entirely. On to the next.
Am I going to be arrested when I go out there?
That's not up to me.
Okay.
But you're free to go.
Oh man, he is really sweating a lot now. Goddamn.
The way this is set up, there was some tendency
Oh
for some of
Lord.
the guys to try to go out the front door as opposed to the back
God.
door.
Where's the door at?
Straight back.
Straight back.
Right through that door right there. He steps off that back step, which is kind of a big step, and boom, Fort Myers police are right on.
Oh god
What
damn.
physical threat did Donald Morrison pose? Probably not a great threat.
I knew this was going to happen when Dateline was in there.
But you never know what somebody's got
I
on.
wasn't
And you never
fixing
know
to.
how somebody might react once they walk out of a house after being on television.
Yeah, so apparently the Florida cops are super aggressive because it's super easy to get concealed carry there with a gun, so they just treat them like they have a weapon. I can't imagine how they would do this show now in places that have just open carry or permitless carry. Texas, for example, they couldn't do the show there because it's a permitless carry state, so anybody can have a gun on them at any time. Chris was already pretty fucking brave for doing this back then, but imagine trying this shit now in a permitless carry state. They could never do it. It would be suicidal. Anybody who walks in the door could have a gun and kill them all before security or police could do anything about it. Permitless carry is fucking insane. I'll just say it. I'm a gun owner myself, but it's absolutely bananas. For my audience that's outside of America, I'll tell you what that is. So in my state, in order to buy a rifle, there's a 3-day waiting period for a background check. If you want to buy a handgun or an assault rifle style weapon, you have to get a permit from the sheriff or the police. And if you want to conceal carry, you have to go through an entire process and class in order to get that license. In permitless carry states like Texas, you don't have to do any of that shit. You can just go buy a gun, get it the same day, carry it with you, concealed or not. It's like turning the place back to the Wild West, where any small argument over some stupid shit can suddenly become lethal because people get hot-headed, pull a gun, and suddenly you're murdering each other over a parking spot. Now, I realize I might catch some heat from people for thinking that's crazy, but we should absolutely be making sure that people with serious issues or violent tendencies or mental illness don't have easy access to firearms. It's just common sense. It's so frustrating sometimes because we have to go around in fear that the next trip to Target or Walmart or the mall might end with some mass shooting because some incel couldn't get laid and decided to take out a bunch of people with them. All right, I'm off my soapbox. Let's finish this up.
Diabetic.
Do you have any needles in your pockets?
No, sir.
Go through your knees to your chest. Roll up.
Get my glasses.
Got him. I got him.
The arrest is made. Morrison goes into, a diabetic shock of sorts. And they didn't want to take any chances, obviously, so they actually took him to the hospital.
Maybe that's why he was sweating so much. He did eat that cookie, which was probably a lot of sugar.
Actually handcuffed, as I recall, to the stretcher as he went in. He was treated and ultimately released and was processed and charged.
Donald Morrison, you're charged with a sex offense against a child, fondling a victim 12 years of age or up to 15 years, and obscene communications with a...
Oh, God, he's got to stand there listening to the charges in this room full of what look like younger kids. Oh, you got to wonder what everybody else in that room is thinking as this weirdo gets stood up before the judge and they get to hear his horrible crimes.
computer to seduce or solicit a child.
Your Honor, may I ask a question?
No, sir.
Okay.
Just like Dustin McFetridge asking a question that the judge is just like, fuck no, goodbye. All right, though, that is the end of Donald Morrison's segment. If you made it this far, thank you once again for listening. Subscribe if you like it. If you liked the video, I would appreciate the like, but that's not so important. As long as you enjoyed it, I'm happy. Once again, I want to apologize for how late this one is. I'm going to try to get back into my pattern of one episode a week, but thanks for bearing with me, everybody. Hope you're enjoying yourself wherever you are, and I will catch you on the flip side.